this is another attempt at recording this. I've tried a couple times now. I'm going to try and get through this very quickly. This is very important about the video. First of all, where am I? I'm in my living room. Why am I here? It's coronavirus for people watching this in the future. I am sort of working from home. I finished my tasks for the day, so I decided to do some recording. However, Brent is also working from home, and he has to be like on call, which means that like he's constantly on a microphone and in front of a camera with his coworkers. And I'm just like, I don't want to be in that area. I don't want to be upsetting his workflow. It's not that he, is telling me I can't be in there. I'm not comfortable being in front of other people and recording because this personality is very distracting. And it's also very loud. I'm just a loud human being, so I'm recording in the living room. Unfortunately, this means I'm recording on a laptop, so the quality is going to be different. Thankfully, I have an amazing microphone that I've never found the equal of, so, my audio is going to be fine. But as you can probably see, this is a bit grainier than usual. The lighting is a little interesting. And also, I have a cat in this room with me, and this is probably the most important part. This cat, I love my cat, Sam. He is wonderful. He is adorable. He is an exceptionally affectionate and attention-seeking cat. And when I record, I think he recognizes the way that I speak as recording, and he hates it. He gets very upset. He knows that I'm paying attention to something that's not him. It doesn't matter if I've given him just hours of attention, which I have because I've been working in the living room all day. And I've been petting him and he's been asleep in my lap. He could be on his tree wanting nothing to do with me. And the second I start recording, he gets very upset. Like I haven't been paying attention to him at all. I've ignored him. He'll start ripping things, destroying. It's just be prepared for me to just leave the camera and be like, Sam, because he's kind of like a toddler in that sense. He really just does not want me to pay attention to anything except for him. It's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. Like, he's not that destructive, but he has like mood swings. I've had to cover like a ton of paper because he already started in one of my previous versions. Anyways, let's get started. So I wanted to talk about my feelings on The Sims 4 and specifically The Sims 3 because I don't remember The Sims 2 very well. I'll get to that. So I have talked about The Sims 4 and how I feel about that game and The Sims 3 in the past in live streams, but my feelings for it kind of flip-flop a lot. Now, as this is important, a lot of you have noticed that over the past couple years, my channel has kind of become a very Sims-centric channel. I know that that's kind of weird. In the past, it has not been. I have always played like horror games and other types of games, RPGs, things, mostly RPGs, I think, mostly RPGs and horror. But I obviously am a very eclectic channel, and for me to suddenly just be doing so much content for one type of game is just very strange, at least historically speaking. It's just how I as an adult am now. The Sims and the way that I play it is very, very relaxing for me, and it releases a lot of the stress that I deal with during the day, and just, I don't know, other games that I play just don't give me that same reaction, that same feeling, that same sense of like, okay, I feel like I'm at ease now. Maybe it's a habit that I've built, I'm not really sure, but that ends up reflecting on my channel because I think of all these great things that I want to record and do in The Sims that are really interesting to me personally. And I know that that's not really normal for what's been on my channel historically. I hope you guys are okay with that. I'm sorry. I try not to. And then I wind up getting bored with a series, or I get antsy with a series, or it feels like work, not necessarily something that I want to do. So I just wind up doing Sims content. That's me. Anyways, I'm not doing anything for EA. EA wants nothing to do with me, I think. I don't even think they know I exist. My Sims videos get like 30 views a pop. It's fine. So here's my unbiased, non-paid for opinion because all of the packs that I own, I paid for. I've received nothing for free. I am not a game changer. Do I want to be? I have no idea. I don't even know what it means to be a game changer. I just recently started getting involved with like other Sims YouTubers. Plumbella is a current favorite. I've mentioned her quite a bit in my Sims 3 series that's kind of going up right now. But she, specifically watching Plumbella, I really have been thinking a lot about Sims games in the past. And especially because I recently started recording in Sims 3, I realized that my feelings for Sims 4 are very complicated. And my feelings for Sims 5 are even more complicated, which is not out. before people start panicking. It is sort of teased. It's not even really teased as Sims 5. There's just this concept of another Sims game that's out in the atmosphere. Where's the next Sims Medieval game? I want another Sims Medieval game. I could literally play that game forever. Like that is my happy place, is Sims Medieval. I'm not even joking. I will listen to the soundtrack of that game and it just puts me at ease. That is my jam. Anyways, before I go on a tangent, my feelings on The Sims 4 are complicated because there are a lot of things that I like in The Sims 4. And then when I played The Sims 3 in this recent series that I started doing, I realized that there's a lot of things in The Sims 4 that just are not as good as I thought they were. And I mean, okay, so one of my favorite things about The Sims 3 was the pack for ambitions. And I'm going to be honest, by the time that I started getting packs for The Sims 3, there was like this massive sale once for Sims 3 packs. And I got a bunch of them all at once because I think it was like I got tax returns, I had handled all of my business, I had extra money, I splurged, and I bought a bunch of Sims 3 packs. I still don't know everything about them. Watching some of Plumbella's videos, I was like, what? You could do that in The Sims 3? And it was like, so I'm not exactly a professional in all of the things that you could do in The Sims 3 versus The Sims 4. I'm still not even a professional in all of the things that you could do in The Sims 4. But one of the things that I became aware of was the fact that The Sims 4 maps, which this is talked about a lot, the overworld maps, they're not 3D, they're not open worlds. And I didn't think that that was a problem. I didn't think that that bothered me until I got to The Sims 3. And I realized it's because, yes, The Sims 3 has horrible loading times, but you really only deal with those loading times when you first boot up the game. And then you really don't ever deal with them ever again unless you're going to university or you're going on vacations. Then you deal with them, but not really. I will say I hate Create-A-Sims in The Sims 3, and it's just because I own so many packs. I obviously have a lot of items, and it takes forever to make your Sims in Sims 3. It just doesn't load fast. It's not good. You can't filter items, not really. At least I haven't figured out how to do it. So I don't spend a lot of time in Sims 3 Create-A-Sims because I get frustrated very quickly. I focus more on like traits, and I make a very quick outfit for all of the different things so that they don't walk around looking like clowns, and then I'm out. I'm done. I set up my zodiac, set up my traits. Why? My everything else, and I've had my alarm going off a lot. It's fine. But that's one thing that I'm very thankful for in The Sims 4 is that Create-A-Sims is very fluid. It's very simple. And maybe that is because it has less, but that's my next step, is that it has less. You cannot create custom outfits the way that you could in The Sims 3. And maybe that is what made Sims 3 Create-A-Sims so slow. But in Sims 4, it's just painfully simple sometimes. You can't change the colors of outfits except by swatches. Obviously is the infamous complaint of there's no color wheel, which was something that I was devastated about. I remember when Sims 4 first released, I looked at those color swatches for like hair and stuff, and I was like, that is sad. That has to change, clearly. It never did. But that was something that bothered me that I just am still kind of really sad about, is that we don't have color wheels. And you wouldn't think that it would make that big of a deal, but it does. I get that we have very special hairs that react with different swatches, and they're very cool, but like, when you only have so many colors to choose from and you can't change things like the roots, like Sims 3 allowed you to change things like the roots in the hair, highlights, the tips, the main overall color of the hair. Sorry if you were a toddler in the background, it's probably our neighbor. But yeah, I just like that kind of like in-depth stuff. Yes, it affected how quickly I think Create-A-Sims worked in The Sims 3, but Sims 4 is newer. Honestly, they should have been able to figure out a way to make it faster, by now at least, in order to have such customization. They haven't, and The Sims 4 kind of looks, acts, plays, and feels like they were trying to recreate The Sims 1, which is really an odd choice to make, especially when you realize that like overworlds are 2D and not 3D, and then you can't really travel anywhere without loading screens. It really feels like they just tried to remake The Sims 1, especially there's no cars, which again was something that I really didn't think I cared about until I got back to The Sims 3 and was like, okay, I kind of care, I guess. But it's one of those things. Some things in The Sims 3 did not feel fully fleshed out, I will say. Like the supernatural creatures and races that you get, they're very cool, but sometimes they don't feel as complicated as they wanted them to be, I think. Like fairies, werewolves, vampires, they kind of just sort of blend in with the game, and there's like minor differences, minor interactions that you get. Honest to God, I do it mostly for vanity purposes, just to get them looking like a certain way. Like I love fairy wings and I love fairies in general, but I rarely actually use fairy abilities on anything because it just takes forever and it wasn't that cool after all. Didn't make that big of a difference. So the gameplay for supernatural races in Sims 3 I think was a little lacking, although obviously everything came with new ambitions and traits, and I will get to that treasure trove in a second. But I will say Sims 4 excels with vampires. Vampires in The Sims 4 are just phenomenal. Chef kisses. I think they really like Sims 4 vampires is so good. The leveling system, the way that you can customize your vampire. If you're having like a good vampire, clearly they're going to have different abilities and ambitions than a bad vampire. And that the fact that they allowed you to do that for storytelling purposes, like that's how in-depth The Sims 4 should have been, is that kind of a leveling system and that kind of a story system. Instead, what we have is just very little ways to customize characters, and they wind up feeling very repetitive very quickly. And this becomes very evident when you actually are trying to create more than one sim at once. When you are making like 2 sims, it's very easy to feel like there's enough to keep the game different. But when you make a household of 8 sims, I'm going to tell you, it becomes very evident that there's just not enough traits to make unique sims. And that's the treasure trove I'm getting to, is traits and ambitions. Sims 3 is very well known for being better with its traits and its ambitions. And I have to say that is definitely one of the most disappointing things about Sims 4 is the lack of traits and ambitions. And it's very easy to forget if you haven't played Sims 3 in a really long time and you're playing Sims 4 and you just get used to it. But I gotta tell you, if you've played Sims 3 for 2 days straight and then you go into The Sims 4, it is crushing. I have mods that give me more traits in The Sims 4, so I like get by, but ambitions are just so disappointing. And the reason, here's what it comes down to, right? The reason we don't have so many ambitions is because we don't have very much stuff to make ambitions out of. We really don't. Ambitions in The Sims 4 kind of reflect how empty The Sims 4 is. Even after, like, what are we at? $800 worth of packs? There's just not a whole lot of ambitions. Like, a lot of the way that ambitions are made in The Sims 4, honestly, could have been split up. So I think what the problem is between The Sims 3 and The Sims 4, right? The Sims 3 ambitions, lifetime wishes, that's what they were called. They were a lot simpler and a lot more straightforward. Harder, but a lot more straightforward. For example, my firefighter in my series, she has a lifetime wish of saving 30 people in a fire, or in fires, or in disasters, She just wants to save 30 lives, right? And that is taking a lot longer than expected. But it is still like, it's thematic, but it's not more complicated than that. It's just save 30 lives. If they wanted to, they could have probably made another lifetime ambition or another lifetime wish for putting out fires, another lifetime wish for clearing it's very straightforward. And in The Sims 4, they combine a lot of stuff into one lifetime ambition. And the problem is, you would think it would take longer to do them. You can complete most ambitions relatively quickly, even if you're playing like I do with no cheats, no stat, you're not maxing out emotions and needs. You're not cheating money. You can still complete them very quickly. And that's what makes it feel very lacking, is that they're not challenging ambitions. Like, okay, we have, for example, off the top of my head, I am thinking of university. Actually, this is a great example. University could have been broken up into so many ambitions. We could have had so many lifetime, or not even lifetime. I'm getting these terms mixed up because they're not the same, but they are. So many different ambitions for degrees, for just degrees. We could have had ambitions for becoming a painter or getting a painting degree, and it could have been very different from like a painter career. There are so many ambitions that were available just through university that just didn't happen. There's one ambition that came with university, and it was very disappointing. I need to learn how to make ambitions because literally just for university, I had two hairs, which is why I did that. I'm sorry, that looked really weird. I had two hairs that were like connected to my mouth. I'm sorry, that looked bizarre. There was a reason for it. I have a very active mouth and I have short hair. So anyways, and so that's kind of one of the problems is that there's so many opportunities for ambitions sometimes and they just don't take them. And then in other situations like in Magic, the ambitions are just scrunched down in ways that they didn't need to be. For example, we could have had an ambition for a duelist, okay? But though that dueling stuff is in the Magic ambition, which is just sort of like an umbrella ambition for Magic, and then you have a potion ambition for Magic. You could have been, like there are some examples in The Sims 3 for ambitions that would have been really nice. Whereas like, curse 8 Sims and then that would have been it. And then, or it probably would have been like 25 Sims, whatever. You get my point. But because these things are stuck under an umbrella ambition, it's just weird to turn them into a whole other ambition. You have like dueling as a part of the Magic ambition, but also leveling up and becoming a master magician or witch or wizard or what have you. And it leaves any other option sort of like very copycat-ish or like very copy-paste. And I think that they just didn't do good with the way that ambitions were styled in The Sims 4. In The Sims 3, again, they were very straightforward, but they were still very challenging. Like the world traveling one. You have to go to each area like 4 times. It still takes forever. Like it's a simple wish. It's something like that. I think I'm wording it wrong. It's like get a visa level of like 5 and then traveled to all of the destinations like 3 times or something like that. It's still very challenging. First of all, because that costs money. And if you ain't cheating, it's going to take you a while. But like that's kind of what made The Sims 3 so much more interesting was the fact that everything was a challenge. I don't think that I have actively completed very many lifetime wishes in Sims 3. I have done every single ambition in The Sims 4 at one point or another at least once. Dead serious. It's so easy. In The Sims 3, it just wasn't. Even the ones that you really wanted to do, like finding a unicorn. I still have not completed that lifetime wish, and I need to, and it will be a series because I want it. And like, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've completed lifetime wishes in The Sims 3. Granted, the way that I played back when I was younger was very different, and I think that affected my initial opinion of The Sims 4 versus The Sims 3 very much. When I played The Sims 3, I cheated all the time. I cheated in money. I constantly filled my Sims' needs so that I didn't have to do anything, and then they could stay up all night and just keep working on skills. And then it was basically just like a slog. It turned the game into a slog because I would literally just put them in front of a canvas and make them paint for 8 days straight and then just keep refilling their needs. Well, that's not how you play The Sims because then you're not creating stories because you're not having them go out to locations. You don't have a need to seek other Sims because your social need is low. You're not really applying yourself to the game because you can just cheat however much money you have. And that's not the way to play the game. I'm not ragging on anybody for doing that. I will cheat every now and then if I really want something and I just don't want to put the effort into it. I'll cheat in traits in The Sims 4 if I'm building a story but don't want to send my character to college because, look, university is amazing, but my God, is it a long DLC to send them to college just for a story? I ain't doing it. I will cheat in that degree. But yeah, I mean, I'm not against people who cheat, but when you just cheat the whole game constantly left and right, it kills the flow. It kills the way to create a story. It doesn't let the game evolve by itself, which I will stand by. Even if I cheat, even when I cheat, I still stand by that. You should still play with some level of realism because that helps evolve the story. I'm gonna get flack for that, whatever. But in the games, like that was not the play that I that was not the way that I played The Sims 3, and I think that that affected my opinion of The Sims 4 very much, because once I started playing this way, I can't play anything else. Like that's kind of what happened. I started playing The Sims 4 without any cheats, and all of a sudden these stories started evolving. These things that I didn't plan for started evolving. The game started feeling very like story-ish, even going out of stories that I personally wanted them to follow. Then all of a sudden the game would just do something goofy, and that's not what would happen. And it still felt very cool. It still felt very realistic, you know? And I never played The Sims 3 that way until literally I started doing that firefighter series that I have going on right now. And I am playing it no cheating. Like I haven't cheated once in that game. I haven't done anything with the needs. I haven't done anything with money. Everything that we have in that game, and believe me, we get quite a lot. She's doing all right. Okay. She's doing pretty good for herself. But like that part, you know, that point that I'm getting to, it feels like a reward, and everything that I'm getting in that game it feels really good, and it feels way better than what I get in The Sims 4. And that's a very strange feeling for me, because like now that I'm going back to The Sims 4, The Sims 4 just feels so empty. But I still love certain things about The Sims 4 that I like. Some building in The Sims 4, very nice. I like building in The Sims 4. I like, you know, that kind of thing. Create a Sims moves a lot faster. I am not a person who likes loading times, so that does make a pretty big difference for me in The Sims 4. I love mermaids. Like I love the vampires in The Sims 4, and university in The Sims 4 is pretty great. Like personally, I really like university in The Sims 4. I like the creation of clubs. Running a business is super cool, especially if you have a mod. So maybe sometimes I sort of cheat because I have the patience of a toddler. I can't stand how long it takes to sell things in when you're owning a business. So I have that mod called Browse and Buy, where people buy faster, and it makes me happy. Okay, I know it's sort of cheating. I accept that. Like I said, I am not totally innocent of cheating. I just don't like constantly filling needs and just splurging and giving yourself all the money that you want, unless you're building. You know what? I'm not getting into the specifics of that. Play your game how you like. I'm gonna play the way I like. Whatever, live your life. But that is basically, I mean, like that's where I stand. It's very difficult for me to say that I like one thing over another, but ultimately The Sims 3 just has so much more. There's literally an archery range, which just increases your athletic skill. But I mean, it has its own animations where you're shooting a bow and arrow at targets. And look, I've already talked about how much I like Sims Medieval. I think we can figure out how I feel about that. There's a dragon city where you can buy dragon eggs. And I'm sorry, but as someone who was violently obsessed with dragons, elementary through high school and a little beyond, that was enough for me. That's all I needed. They don't do that much. I don't care. I can own a dragon. And also that world has Robin Hood in it. So, you know. Chef kisses. But like it's Sims 3 is a lot more atmospheric. It is also a lot darker, I have learned, which I'm not a huge fan of. If y'all know any good mods for brightening up The Sims 3 in general, let me know. But yeah, I like a few things about The Sims 4 more than I like about The Sims 3, but ultimately I think majority, The Sims 3 is still a better game. It looks derpy. It hasn't aged very well. It does not age like fine wine. But the gameplay is just still better. Okay, so if I've mentioned my favorite pack in The Sims 3 was Ambitions. In The Sims 4, you get something very similar, Go to Work, and that was very cool. I really liked Go to Work. I wished there was more. The detective career is my favorite career. I love that career, even though it breaks sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't work, especially when there's like a teen or something that's your culprit. I don't know what it is. It doesn't work. It does derp out sometimes. It hasn't done it in a while. I still don't trust it, but it is still my favorite career. In The Sims 3, you have a detective career. I haven't done it in a long time, so I can't compare and contrast, but there was a detective career. I think it was like, I can't remember the word, like a private eye. There we go. It was like a private detective thing There was also a home designer. That one was cool. The home designer career was like legit. I had so much more fun with it than I thought I was going to have. And it is so much more in depth than you think it's going to be. Because if you can learn the traits of the sim that you are going to work for, that you're going to make the house for, that plays into the types of items that you should put in the house, which I didn't know. I was reading about it and I was like, my mind was blown. And I mean, just for this career alone, there are ambitions, which you don't have with get to work. And that bothers me. The lifetime wishes in Sims 3 are there's so many lifetime wishes for all of the careers alone. And you don't get that in The Sims 4. And I don't understand why. Those are so simple to make, those lifetime wishes, ambitions. It's very difficult when they refer to them as two separate things. It's kind of giving me issues. So in The Sims 4, you have things like being a detective and being a doctor and being a scientist, and those are wonderful, but you don't get ambitions related to them, and that is very confusing to me. Why? Why wouldn't you? You could just still get the same reward where you have increased logic or whatever, I don't know, or you're really good at chess, I don't know, something. Maybe you're very good at charisma because you were a master detective and you can read people like a book, like that's cool. I would take that. Don't give me rewards, just give me story. But in The Sims 3, you have all of these lifetime wishes that are applicable to these careers, and that's wild. That's so cool. I love that because like you have for the home designer, you have a lifetime wish. If you want to be a ghost hunter, which is my favorite career. Okay, that's my favorite. I like the ghost hunter career. There's a lifetime wish for that. There are multiple lifetime wishes for if you're a witch. Hiss, boo, ding. There are multiple just for everything. Oh God, why lock? Okay. And I miss that. I do. I didn't realize how much more The Sims 3 had in just traits alone. I mean, there are traits where it's like you don't like being naked, you don't like being near water, you don't like the cold, you don't like the heat. And you don't even get that in The Sims 4, even though you have weather. And granted, The Sims 4 only gives you 3 slots for traits. So I think they're like, well, we don't want to give you these random traits when you can only have 3. But whose fault is that? Because in The Sims 3, you could have, I think, 5 or 6. You could have 5 or 6 traits. And now we can only have 3. And it's very weird. It's a very weird move to that was another thing that I remember being really upset about when I first got The Sims 4. I didn't touch it for years because the original Sims 4, which I got on release and was very upset about because I didn't have a lot of money, it was so boring. It was so empty and boring. I don't know if anybody remembers this. It didn't even have pools. It didn't have anything. It was so boring. I played Sims 3 for years before I finally started getting DLC for The Sims 4, which frankly, I think lines up with when I started getting obsessed with The Sims on my channel. Yeah, basically. But that's new, like Sims 4 was such a major disappointment and still kind of is. And I still sort of defend it because it's not a bad game. There are lots of it that are still very good. Like University turned out really good. Vampires turned out really good. Give me more like Vampires. I want more packs like Vampires. Take whatever team worked on Vampires and make them work on similar packs. Like someone needs to give mermaids more love because they really didn't get that much love. They can do things. They didn't get leveling like vampires have. You can't give them abilities. Why? Does nobody do research on mermaids? Do people not know what skills mermaids can have? Like, we could have done the weather thing as skills. Okay, I'm sorry. I have feelings about The Sims in general, and that's just, I mean, like, those are the 2 games that I remember the clearest. My first Sims game was The Sims 2. I think it started raining. Or that's a car. Anyways, doesn't matter. I don't really remember The Sims 2. I played it on the PS2 as well, so my opinions about The Sims 2 are very strange, except that when I did see a very little piece of it, specifically the PS2 version, I was hit by a wave of nostalgia like you wouldn't understand. But yeah, The Sims is a game that I've been playing for a very long time, specifically The Sims 3. That was my first real Sims game that I ever had on PC because I didn't really have a PC that was good enough to run The Sims before that. And so obviously my first experience was The Sims 2 on PlayStation 2 and also The Sims Castaway. I forgot about that one. I owned that game. I really liked that one. The Sims 3 was like very different from The Sims 2, so I remember being a little culture shocked on the difference between the two because I wasn't ready for it. But in the end, I really liked The Sims 3. Like, I made every family in Moonlight. What is it? It's like, it's not Moonlight Hollow. It's the other one. The one that you get with the Supernatural pack. Y'all know what I mean. It's the Supernatural one. Anyways, doesn't matter. Anyways, this video will go on forever if I don't stop it here. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know which one I will flip-flop like nobody's business on which one I like more. I really will. I can't say. I also like the fashion in Sims 4 a bit more. The fashion in The Sims 3 is a little... I never liked it. The hairs are not very good in The Sims 3. I didn't really like many of them, if any. I'm gonna be honest. Oh God, I didn't even mention toddlers and children and teenagers. God, they are so boring in The Sims 4. Babies don't do anything in The Sims 4. They don't exist. They're just items. They're not fun. Toddlers are just so difficult in The Sims 4. They are not fun in the slightest, and I get that maybe that's supposed to be realistic. But there are some reasons to enjoy having a toddler, and that's not present in The Sims 4. Teenagers are basically just boring young adults. They can't do anything, and they go to school, and you can't even really talk to them or teach them anything because I get it, they're teenagers, they don't want to learn, but they're really boring. In The Sims 3, you could do sleepovers, you could go to prom, you could do all these things with your children and toddlers and babies and teenagers, and in The Sims 4 you just can't. It's so boring. There are some things that you're just not aware of. Also, like the animations with pets, which I wasn't even fully aware of how lacking Sims 4 pets are. You kind of forget about them. Yeah, you forget about Sims 4 pets. I'll say it. You forget they exist. They're not fun. Sims 3 pets, my dog, I would die for that Sims 3 digital pet, okay? I would. It's just perfection. And also, I mean, like, don't even get me started on Sims 3 pets. Horses, unicorns, birds, reptiles. My God, there's so many. Anyways, it's something worth thinking about, I think, because The Sims 3 had so much more. The Sims 4 charges more and has so much less, even though The Sims 3 is still really expensive. Some people like to talk about how much you pay for The Sims 4, which is like $800. Let's not give The Sims 3 too much credit on that, because to buy absolutely everything that is still for sale for The Sims 3, I think someone calculated it's around $7,000 to $8,000. So let's not give The Sims 3 too much credit on that front. It is also quite the money sink. I don't even own a quarter, a third. I don't own like a dent in what is available for The Sims 3. I just don't. It would take me a very long time to own anything, even close to like I own all of the main DLC, I think, and that's about it. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a pretty long vlog. It's also really weird. I'm sure the camera's not that fun to look at, especially this incredible angle where there's just shadows over my face because I have very prominent laugh lines and a very prominent brow. So, I'm sure that's very fun to look at, but c'est la vie, such is life in a time of the coronavirus. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.